Good morning, Rabotai. Welcome to Breakfast in the Class. Breakfast in the Class can be seen not only in its recorded form, audio or video, but it could also be seen live, streaming on iTorah, on Torah Anytime, on our website, ejsny.org/live stream. So if you want to join us every morning live, instead of waiting for Rabbi Fahey to get his act together and upload it, which sometimes he does later, sometimes he does earlier. I don't know why I'm speaking about myself in the third person. But either way, the point is you can watch it live, and then you're allowed to say Amen to the Berachot. So that's the added bonus on the live stream, according to many poskim. Okay, let's begin. Today, the learning for this week and this week is dedicated by Torah Center Diamond Donors Tatiana and Sunny Doer, in loving memory and Lunishmat Sunny's father, Eli Doer, Eliyahu Ben Sion Faride, Alav Shalom. Also, breakfast in the class dedicated in loving memory of Shmuel Shoshani, Lunishmat Shmuel Ben Rivka, Yosef Habib, Alav Shalom, on his Askara, sponsored by the Zara family. Also, the Fuash Le'ma for Eliyahu Shimon Ben Mazal Fortuné and Chana Matzah Mefega, and Chaim Rafael Ben Farida. The year of breakfast in the class is dedicated in loving memory of Ruth Orfali Bat Adela Alea Shalom, sponsored by our family. And the week of Kobra was sponsored by David E. Ash in honor of you and your substantial capacity to do good today and every day. Last but not least, I got to see Rafi Fuzailov today. We want to wish him a Mabruka Mazal Tov on the birth of a baby boy to his daughter Orly. So Orly and Ben, Mazal Tov, congratulations. B'sha'at tova u'mutzlahat. You should be zocher to welcome many sons and daughters, banim u'banot oskim b'torah u'b'mitzvot. Okay, my friends, let us begin. We have a beautiful concept on the holiday of Sukkot that I'd like to talk about. And that is an interesting concept that we express revolving around the idea of simcha. Simcha on the holiday is represented not only by the regular law of happiness that's required on a holiday. So, what do I mean? Sukkot, Shavuot, Pesach. Those are the three regalim, right? On Pesach, is there a mitzvah to be happy? Yes. V'samachta b'chagecha is on all the holidays. On Shavuot, is there a mitzvah to be happy? Yes. What is included in the mitzvah of being happy on the holiday? Does anyone know? So, most basic is eating meat and drinking wine. En simcha ela basar v'yayin. That's what the Gemara says. What Dr. Sham is including over here is that the Shulchan Aruch says halakha, what does a person do for his wife or for his children? So the Gemara says, and the Shulchan Aruch brings it down, that for his wife it's clothes and jewelry, okay? And buy her something, clothes or jewelry. Or, by the way, I always think to myself, or she could buy it herself. I'm not saying that to kind of push her off, but what I'm saying is, let's say I have a single woman. So how does she fulfill v'samachta b'chagecha? Not you. Ordinarily, you say ein simcha el basar v'yayin, but what do we do with our wives? Jewelry and clothes. If a woman is not married, right, she should buy herself her own. Or if her husband's not buying for her, what should she do? Obviously, upon consultation, so we don't have shalom bayit issues, because then that ruins the simcha. Right? But she should be buying an article of clothing, piece of jewelry. Now, to be clear, just because I said you have to buy a piece of jewelry, doesn't mean you have to walk out of Safra synagogue, turn left, and go to the corner and hit graph. You know, that's maybe a little bit excessive. Maybe go there for some very big occasion, 50th wedding anniversary, maybe, or maybe never. Right? That's another. Some people think 63rd, and 5th or 5th Avenue. Some people think 47th Street, right? But the point is, you buy something small, whatever it is, something misameach. What happens with the children? Says the Shulchan Aruch. What's the mitzvah of samachta b'chagecha for the children? Labas. The Shulchan Aruch does not say labas. What does the Shulchan Aruch say? Roasted wheat. They used to take the kernels and they would roast them, and it would be like a sweet, like a it would bring out the sweetness of the grain. So they would do various things: egozim, nuts, wheat, whatever those kind of things that a child would like to be able to have. Some candies. Now, what are we communicating over here? And I want to just talk about this for 1 second. What is this simcha that we're speaking about? The simcha basar v'yayin. What is the simcha of a nice dress, some jewelry, right? What's the simcha of a little candy? The answer is that although we like to think of ourselves, us humans, as being very sophisticated, very complex people, it takes a lot to kind of move the needle. I'm a very intellectual being. The truth is, it's not like that. Sometimes, how much does it take for you to get annoyed? Right? Sometimes the smallest thing ruins your dinner. Right? Smallest thing. You could be in the nicest restaurant, eating the most delicious food, but they sat you at the wrong table. Oof. Disaster. I mean, there's some people like that. Or what happens? Something small, so that smallest little thing. What could it do? It could bring you tremendous happiness. Just give you an example. Yeah, you go to a restaurant, you order something, the appetizer, terrible. It's no good. You're in a bad mood. Anyway, the waitress comes over, imagine. She says, I see you didn't finish the appetizer. So you're like, yeah, no, She says, how was it? Oh, you say, I'll be honest, I didn't love it. She says, I'm taking it back, taking it off the bill. How do you feel now? Oh, you're like, wow. Very great. Now, how big, you're going to spend on that fancy, nice, beautiful meal a lot of money. What difference did the appetizer make? Now, I'm going to just reverse the scenario. Imagine now, she didn't take the appetizer back. The $20 she spent, the $30, the whole thing, that thing was horrible. How small does it take? In my mind, I always think, back in the day, used to have these, the trains. Remember the what's it called? The trains, and they go to the end of the track. You have, all the trains lined up. Now they all need to go. Where do they go? They pull out of the train yard. There's some guy sitting there with a little lever. What happens? The track goes like this. So the train's on this track. All that happens is there's two little pieces of metal. The guy pulls the lever, it goes like this. It shifts. How big is the shift from this track to this track? 2 feet? 1 foot? Right? Nothing. It shifts as much. But that track will take you cross country, and this track will take you only down the block into the city. Sometimes a tiny shift is enough to be able to experience a massive, game-changing experience in happiness, in sadness, in appreciation. Unbelievable. Someone does you a beautiful favor. You send them a text, thank you. Or you call the guy, you talk to him on the phone in person, right? You leave him a voice note. Each of these things is a tiny difference. But what a difference it makes in the feeling the person feels when he got that phone call or he heard your voice, in the voice note. I tell people, anytime you can call. You can't call, right? What do? Right? What's it called? You give a voice note. You can't do a voice note, then make it do the text. It's like diminishing returns. Because that tiny difference, it actually matters. Says the pasuk something beautiful. V'samachta b'chagecha. I want you to be happy in your holiday. There's laws. We have laws in the Torah. How sad is that? If you think about that. The Torah is like, I want you to be happy. So you're like, really? What's the halachot? How do I be happy? Hold on, I have to eat. Is there a certain amount of meat that I have to have in order to be halachically happy? Right? What is the, Hold on 1 second. They called the rabbi. Hi, rabbi. Yeah, I had meat. Yes, it was grown in a petri dish. I don't know. It's organic meat, so I'm not sure. So what's the halakha? Am I happy? I'm not sure. Could you look in the books, find out what the opinions are, whether or not I'm happy, if I were fulfilled? It's a strange thing. But the Torah understood that you have to mandate an action, something small, whether it's the delicious food, whether it's the dress, whether it's a thing, to engender simcha. Now, why am I sharing this with you? All of this is to communicate one idea. Whilst there's a holiday, Pesach, Shavuot, you have an obligation to rejoice. And like we've already explained the halakha, when it comes to Sukkot, Sukkot is over and above all of them. How do you know that? Because in the Machzor, when we're going to pray tonight, what are we going to say? In Ya'aleh v'Yavo, what are we going to say? It's Zeman Simchatenu. So Pesach is a time of freedom. Shavuot is a time of receiving the Torah. Both happy times. But when it comes to Sukkot, the explanation of what the day is. What is the day? The day is happiness. So my friends, what does this mean? How do we find in the essence of what Sukkah is, the concept of simcha, of joy? Not being happy on this day, but a day of happiness. How do we explain that? So I want to just share with you one idea that I think is really beautiful. Our rabbis tell us that a person has an obligation on the holiday of Sukkot to take the arba minim. What are the arba minim? Lulav, etrog, hadassim, aravot. Those are the 4 species that a person needs to take when they, when they shake the lulav and etrog on the holiday. Now ideally, by the way, and this is what they used to always do, they would go and make the beracha of netilat lulav, where? In the sukkah. I don't know if you remember this, OG. OG is not to make the beracha in the shul, make the beracha on lulav in the sukkah, shake in the 4 directions, do the item, then come in. That's what they used to do. Now, if it's a very big hassle, are you allowed to make the beracha? Of course you're allowed to. But the ideal idea was to make it in the sukkah. Now, I just want to share with you something I think is really beautiful. The Torah does not only say that you should be happy on the holiday. Not only does it say that this holiday is happiness, it goes one step further. It says that when you shake the lulav and etrog, usmachtem, you should rejoice with the lulav and etrog. That's a wild idea. I wanna just, did any of you ever think that you're shaking a lulav etrog with joy? But that's what the pasuk says. Take these species and rejoice. Anyone here ever did that before? Pick up the lulav and etrog and thought to themselves, okay guys, we're ready. Rejoicing imminent. Let's go, right? Has anyone ever thought that? But the pasuk says it. So I want to share a very deep idea. Our rabbis tell us that the symbolism of the lulav and etrog is very deep. Many different ideas. Okay, some ideas some of you will have heard. One to do with the taste and the smell. I'm sure many of you have heard. Etrog has a good taste and a good smell, right? It represents a person who has Torah and mitzvot. Lulav has a good taste, right? Comes from the trees, the same trees as the dates, right? Palm. So it has a good taste, but has no smell. So that represents someone, who's doing mitzvot. Okay? The hadassim, they have a good smell, not a good taste, represents someone who's studied Torah. The arava represents someone, no taste, no smell, no mitzvah, no Torah, right? That guy, he's the rasha. Those are the 4 species, the 4 different types of Jews. I'm sure you've heard that. But I want to share with you the other famous idea, which I'm sure you've also heard. Our rabbis tell us that the lulav represents the spine. I think of the long, tall lulav, supposed to be rigid, strong, right? Lulav represents the spine. I'm sure she knows that she learned this in school, right? What did the hadassim represent, sweetheart? Okay, how about the aravot? Do you remember the aravot? Or the etrog? Good, excellent. Etrog, I'm going to give you a hint, okay? The etrog represents the heart. The hadassim, they look a little bit like that. The eye is good. And what does the aravot look like? It's like the lips, very good. See, you did remember. I'm very proud of you. Okay? So the 4 species represents The spine, the heart, the lips, and the eyes. And I feel that the Torah was teaching us something really important. It was teaching us that happiness resides in these 4 places. And let's try and understand what this concept means. In order to be happy, a person has to decide how they look at the world. So happiness resides in a person's eyes. Ayin Tov. A person could choose to look at the life that they have and see a life with everything, because it has his health, he's got his family, he's got a good job, right? He has the freedom to be able to be Jewish, how he likes, practices religion. So many times in history, we've had it so much more difficult than we have it right now. So number 1 is a person's eyes. The second thing is a person's lips. How a person speaks about their life. You could have a very good life and you could see your life in a very positive way. Peh. Tafshin Peh. Very good, right? Teshnat, Peh. It should be a good year of a mouth. So how a person speaks also will regulate whether they live a happy life. What does that mean? I want you to imagine that you went out and bought the meat, and you got the wine, and you got your wife the jewelry, and you got her the dress, and you got the kids the sweets, and you did everything. And you walked in after shul, and you said, how come nothing's ready? What's going on over here? I did everything. The only thing I asked you to do, the least you... What happened now? Dinner's ruined. Even though you did ba'ayin yafa, you looked, you went out, you put in all the effort to do everything the right way. One comment destroys happiness. One negative element, one negative speech, one negative line from a person destroys happiness. How we speak to the people around us creates the environment that the person lives in. So even if you think you're the luckiest person in the world, and then you say to yourself, listen, I have so much, I'm very blessed, I want everyone around me to do good things, the mouth will dictate the life that you live, the environment that you're in, the happiness of your family, the toxicity of your workplace environment. What's going to decide that? The person's mouth. So simcha lives in the eyes. Simcha lives in the mouth. Simcha lives in the heart. What happens if a person is doing all that they need to do, but it's all performative? Someone could see that you were very polite, you said everything you needed to say, but your heart's not in it. Here. I got you this because you're such a good wife. Right? For a person to experience simcha, they need to activate their live. But my friends, the last one is the one that's difficult to understand. Of all the elements of simcha, the last one, which is the spine, where does the spine come into simcha? And here's the crazy thing. The spine always represents, in Judaism, we make a beracha, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, zokef kefufim. Someone, Hashem, you lift up, you straighten up the back of those that are bent over. A person can be bent over in life from many things. It can be from old age, it could be from scoliosis, right? But oftentimes, what are we talking about when we talk about zokef kefufim? Where a person allows the burdens that they have on their shoulders eventually to pull them down, to lock them down. What they're carrying can overshadow everything. I remember I had the opportunity to sit with a very big tzaddik in a car journey for about an hour. Anyway, the person, this rabbi, he was very, very sick. Anyway, he's smiling, he's asking me about the shul, he's asking me about the minyanim, he's asking me about the learning. And and I know what's going on with him. And I felt very bad. Like, Here the guy is asking me everything about me and how it's going and developing, and his big smile on his face. And I said to him, can I ask you a personal question? You sure. I said, I'm so happy that you're so, but tell me how things by you, how things by the rabbi. Is everything okay? How you feeling? And what he said to me just shook me to my core. I was so blown away. Listen to what he said. He said, he says, I'm an older man. I said, okay. He said, so everybody dies sometimes. Everyone's going to go at some point. He says, you go like this, you go like that, you go the other way. Everyone's going to go sometime. So he said, so this is my path. He says, but how do you decide whether or not you had a life that you're happy with? How do you decide whether or not you're a blessed person or you're a person who lived a life where you were cursed? How do you decide that about yourself? He says, you look at what you achieved, what you accomplished, what you have, what you've done in your life. Are you happy with what you've done? And then everything else, and this is what he said, listen to this. Everything else, he said, is the luggage you carry along your way. Have you ever had someone, he said, who complains to you when they're about to go on an amazing vacation that they have a heavy suitcase? I start crying in the car. Imagine a guy's going to Bahamas. Imagine a guy's going, to wherever, Miami. He's going on a beautiful vacation. He's going to go to the islands. He's going to go to Yerushalayim. Right? Packs a suitcase. Needs clothes. Needs items. Not only that, he'll go to the counter and he'll pay for extra weight for his suitcase. And if he bought first class, he's going to demand that his suitcase should not only be 24 pounds, but 32 pounds. You know why? Because the briefcase, the suitcase, is what he needs to take with him in order to go on this journey. He said, in order to go on this journey, to get to this destination, to have what I have in my life, my family, my yeshivot, my, my kolelim, all that I have. He said, this is what I needed. Hashem decides what I needed to go on my journey. He says, so this is my suitcase. So I schlep it along with me. He says, but imagine a guy sitting on the beach at his vacation, kvetching about how heavy his suitcase was. I was just blown away. So the first element of simcha of the lulav is to stand up straight and to use your ayin, your peh, and your heart to experience, to engage, to feel how happy, how lucky you are at everything that you have. Number one. The second element, I'll end with this, of the spine is not only zokef kefufim. A spine also represents a person who's standing up. We tell a person, they should grow a spine. Or you call someone spineless. What are you telling? What are you saying? A person doesn't stand up for something. Correct. You have a lot of people who in this life, they're very blessed, but they didn't have a spine. They didn't tell their kids no. They didn't stand up and say, this is too much. This is too fast. I remember all the way back in the day, people started going Majnoon, with these parties for the Sweet 16. I remember I was in England at the time. Anyway, middle of the Sweet 16 party, father quiets the music down, gets on the microphone. He says, I'd like to give a gift to my daughter for a Sweet 16 birthday party. Okay, everyone's quiet. What's he gonna get her? He pulls out keys. Gives it to the thing. And he's like, I bet you're all wondering which car it is. Everyone's like, what car is it? He goes, it's not a car. It's an apartment. He bought her an apartment. Yeah. Just say no. Dachilak. Just say no. But it's not only to others. What about to yourself? At what point do you grow a spine and you say, this is too much? This vacation, I want to go, it's nice. But this amount of money, it's obscene. It doesn't compute. You know what I could do with this money instead of spending it like this? It's a little crazy. Now again, I want you to enjoy everything that you have. That's not the point. My point is not that. My point is that for everybody, there's a moment where they know Hajj. If you eat red meat every day of your life, you know what's going to happen. How's your heart going to deal with that? How's your gout going to deal with that? You know what happens if you eat sugar nonstop? Sugar delicious. Your teeth are going to fall out. A person needs to learn when to say no. They need to learn to stand up for something. And if a person does not have boundaries, barriers, borders, a place where the guy says, Hajj, enough, no more, thank you very much, without a spine, it's impossible to have happiness. So my friends, the pasuk says, if you take these four things together, a person can have simcha in their life, and that becomes zeman simchatenu. We take the four species, we bring it into the sukkah, we look around, what do we have in the sukkah? What's there? It's a hut. You don't have heat, central heating. You don't have central air conditioning. You don't have your bathroom with a toilet, from Star Wars. Okay, you don't have a, how do you call it? What do you have there? You have a table, chairs, food, and family. That's all. That's all, but that's everything. That's the nekudah here on Sukkot. A person has an obligation to be able to look around the table, to look around at the sukkah and say, if this was all I had, wouldn't this be enough? And I could see the rat race all happening all around me. I could see the Joneses. And I'm just saying no. And this is it. My friends, how many times and from how many countries did people who used to have the house get forced into a situation where that sukkah and what was in it was everything that they had? My father ran away from Syria. He ran away with a trust fund and a 401k. Nothing. He had nothing. He didn't even have pants. The guy had a robe. He was dressing up like an Arab. Okay? This is what they had. When you left South Africa, what did they let you take with you? Right? When you left Germany or Russia or Poland or Libya, when you left Iraq and Iran, what'd you have? Nothing. You started over. And nothing was enough. That's the nekudah over here. The sukkah is built in what? The pasuk says, Psolet Goren Vayakev. What did they use for schach? In Judaism, sometimes things get very mixed up. Can I give you an example of how things get mixed up? Not everyone here is Ashkenaz, not everyone in this room. But we have a couple. There's a delicacy in the Ashkenaz world called cholent. Does anyone know what cholent is? It's called like hamim. Stewed meat thing. Why do Ashkenazim have cholent? In Poland, in Russia, when they were so poor, they had nothing to eat. What'd they do? They took potatoes, they took beans, whatever they had, stuck it in a pot. They could not afford meat, so what'd they do? They went to the butcher, and they asked the butcher, you sold all the meat, can I have the bones? And they would take the bones, and they would put the bones in the cholent pot, and the marrow of the bones would give some flavor to the food. Now you go to a fancy restaurant, they cut a bone in half, they stick your thing, marrow, right? Now you go to a butcher, you want bones for your cholent, they charge you premium. You got where we are. The whole thing got flipped upside down. So now cholent is a delicacy. It used to be halachma, the poor man's food. We got so used to eating it. Now there's places in Israel that have 7 kinds of cholent. I'm not joking. There's a place in Israel. But imagine the idea. There's a lot of things that get flipped like that. So now you go to the place, you want to buy a sukkah. How much is the schach? $9 gazillion. How much is the etrog? Depends, 9 gazillion, 8 gazillion, I'm not sure exactly. Depends on how beautiful it is, very expensive. How much did the etrog used to cost? You cut off a tree. It's only now where we have this marketplace, where we have this commercialization, where I want the best etrog. So the guy imported the etrog through the airport from here, from there, all the other places. He got the papers, which one? 9,000 people bidding for the right etrog. So we've now turned it into this thing where your etrog could cost you $500. You don't have schach to put on top of your sukkah. So what do? You go buy the bamboo mat from this place, from that place, the other place, and it costs you $900 for the bamboo mat. You understand? What did they used to use? Psolet Goren Vayakev. The guy just finished cutting down all the items in the orchard, right? Because at the end of the summer, he just finished going and bringing in all the fruits and all the wheat and all. What did he use? All the leftover, all the garbage. That's what he used for schach. How much did schach cost him? Nothing. The idea of the sukkah, the idea of the arba minim, was that you could take nothing, and with the right eye, and with the right mouth, and with the right heart, and with the right discipline, you can make it everything. So when you go into Sukkot now, understand that that's the job. To make nothing, everything. To tell your wife, it's not been the best year, but if I have you, I have everything. And she can hear it, and she knows you mean it, and she knows that that's how you see her. You hear me? But if you don't have discipline, so then everyone knows it's a sketch. Yeah. So this is the concept, this is the beauty of Zeman Simchatenu. Right? Everybody's the same. There's no one's in the penthouse in the sukkah, everyone's outdoors dealing with the mosquito. Is it going to rain? Is it not going to rain? Everyone's the same. But my friends, in that space lies true simcha. I was talking with my father a little while ago. We were talking about various jobs and this and that. And he asked me, he said, you're thinking about moving to New York City to this job. What made you change your mind? I said, for a long time I was working in outreach with young Jewish students. But I said, but for how long could someone do that? Like, how old do you have to get before you're not relating to the kids of today? If you heard the 12, 13-year-old kids with their lingo today, you wouldn't understand a word of what they even mean. You think you're all up with the slang. You don't even know what they're saying anymore. The new generation, not even Generation Z, Generation Alpha, they have their own new language now. And by the way, Alpha thinks that they're so cool. You know who's coming? Beta is coming for you. They're going to ask you if you feel peanut butter today. And you're going to be like, what does that mean? And they're going to be like, geezer. Like, that's what's going to happen. So understand what I'm saying to you. Understand what I'm communicating. This is such an important thing to recognize. So I said to my father, how long can I do that for? But when you become a rabbi of a shul, and you grow older with the people, and the people are older also, and the community is there, and you've been there with someone since the time they were born or bar mitzvah, that's a job that has much more longevity. And you have rabbis that they sit in their synagogue, and maybe they need a little bit more help, maybe they need to hire other rabbis to work with them, but that's a job you could do not until you're 40 or 50 or 60, but you could do that. Cham Baruch, Cham Yaakov Chassin, they were in the synagogue till they were ready to move on. And my friends, if you ask them, where would you like to be right now? Free ticket, free apartment, free whatever. You want to go to Bali? Cham Yaakov Chassin? Okay? Rabbi Cham Baruch, I have a beautiful place for you. Retire. Go to the Maldives. Yeah? If I told my father today, Abba, it's okay. You don't have to go to shul every day, make the phone calls, to run this, the kashrut, this. You don't got to do any of it. Here, vacation, go. You think my father would want to go? You choose the life you love. And you invest in that life. With its challenges, with its difficulties. And there's nothing that brings you more joy than realizing that you're already living your dream. You're already living it. It's not somewhere out of your reach where you need to get to. It's right here and right now. And people like that live the happiest lives in the world. And that becomes Zeman Simchatenu. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen ve'amen. Rabbi Chananya.